Whether it's the Kamehameha Wave, the Spirit Gun, or the Rasengan, we all see characters in anime and cartoons have these wild and amazing character signature techniques. So, we thought to ask, hey, D&D goblins around the world, what is your character's signature technique? Part 2. During this one session where my group thought it would be a funny idea that we would make all our characters into support-like classes whose personality traits did not fit with their characters, sort of like a dumb wizard, a sinful cleric, an introvert bard, etc. I was the bard in my party, and before the room with our second encounter with the big bad evil guy, we whispered among ourselves a cool technique without telling the DM since we wanted it to be a surprise. My bard didn't get nearly as much spotlight as the other characters, so the other members agreed that it could revolve around me. Aw, how sweet of them. Once we got into the room, the big bad evil guy made his speech, the boss breaks down the door underneath the balcony he was standing on, then we made our move. I stepped forward and gave a speech since at this point in the campaign the BBEG's actions affected me the most. I then gave my speech talking about how he took my character's love interest, which I allowed the DM to do for dramatic effect. My character then lunged over with his knees bent and his hands slowly and shortly swaying left to right as I begin to slowly chuckle, then laugh maniacally. Since my bard was pretty stoic, and the big bad evil guy knew this by now, this was pretty surprising coming out of him. As I started to laugh maniacally, the wizard and the sorcerer both cast haste and illusion to make it look like my eyes turned blood red, and there was a fiery red aura around me as soon as I started laughing. I then rolled for intimidation. Nat 20. Our DM was freaking out at this point. The boss still stood his ground, but he was secretly paralyzed with fear. The BBEG stepped back as if he was thinking about making a run for it. My bard, still laughing maniacally, pulled 2 daggers out of his tunic, ran up, and sliced the boss twice, thanks to the haste spell, and a perfect X shape, and killed it with those 2 blows. Probably the most badass thing that has ever happened in any of our campaigns. With my current Spore Druid level 4, she seems to enjoy casting Shillelagh on her staff, which makes the shrooms on it swell up with magical energy. So far it's killed ghouls, their leader, ghosts, specters, and the final blow on a lesser vampire. It has also done severe damage to the human priest, and she kept the tooth she knocked out of his mouth with it. She also likes to cast Entangle in crowds of enemies, or if we know they're in a building of sorts, and cast once the door opens. Dwarven Cleric. Oh yeah, you want to play some Dwarven Golf, do ya? Stone shape plus magic warhammer plus really high strength equals DM crying yet again that I have splattered his special baddie before we ever roll initiative. The warlock casting fireball as a follow-up is just extra salt in the wound. Currently under par. Hey, if you get a hole in one, let me know. My cleric Dova has a special greatsword she uses for one specific purpose, to deal the final blow to the cultists of Cyric. She's only ever done it once that the party has seen, but it was impactful. Imagine for a moment, you're a cultist of Cyric, not one of his minions, but someone with a bit of power and rank. You've been battered and beaten by a 6'4" Amazonian-built longsword-wielding protector Asimar and her friends. The Asimar is now towering over you as you lie there on the ground pleading for snoo-snoo. Suddenly, she pops her wings and flies a few feet above you, dropping her longsword and drawing a giant greatsword from her handy haversack. A greatsword specially made to be wielded in one hand just because it looks that much more intimidating. As she raises the sword high in the air, she looks down at you, her eyes glowing white, and calls out, "In the name of the Vigilant One, I rend your soul from this mortal plane!" Then, in one swift motion, the giant sword twirls in her hand to point down at you as she launches herself downward, plunging the sword through your still beating heart and 6 inches deep into the ground beneath you. As your dying breath escapes your lungs, you faintly hear this titan of a woman say, "That was for Anakalasi, you son of a bitch," in the memory of the wife she lost to Cyric cultists nearly 20 years prior. When the party saw her do that, they gave her a wide berth as she turned away and walked past them all. We also had a player who played a female Tabaxi sorcerer rogue in a couple of campaigns. She kept having to leave due to scheduling conflicts, so the character would show up when she could, even in different campaigns, whose signature move was to inflict wounds on people, monsters, into utter oblivion, out of combat. The first time she played the character, she spent the entire 4 hours of the one-shot we were playing in catnapping under a table, until a bar fight broke out and someone bumped her table and woke her up. She stood up, grabbed him by the collar, and dumped 30+ points of damage into a level 0 commoner. She later admitted she kinda lost track of what was going on and thought we were in an actual fight with enemies. Oops. When she played that character again in a campaign, the party was in a city they'd never been to before, and her and our other rogue and our wizard went to scope out the black market there. While they were there, the Tabaxi overheard someone talking about murdering a village of Loxodons for their tusks. So she casually walked over and successfully stealth obliterated him with inflict wounds, and shoved his corpse under a table. Nothing like sweeping it under the rug. In the campaign I'm currently running, the player was able to bring this character in for a few sessions when her work schedule allowed her to finally play D&D again for the first time in about 2 years. She only played in 4 sessions before her schedule changed again, but in that brief span she one-shotted 2 werewolves by dumping plus 40 points of inflict wounds damage directly into their faces. And that's how her character got the nickname Werewolf Melter. I have a kobold barbarian named Heinrich. He has a special move he calls the Heinrich maneuver. It's just hitting things with a sword. Ah, yes, I got a story now. We call it the Felix Cannon. Essentially, my character, Felix, is a druid. He and one of the 2 fighters in the party talked, and they came up with the Felix Cannon. The fighter would throw him at an enemy. Felix would use Wind Wall to increase his speed. He's a halfling, so this is all pretty easy. And right before he hits the enemy, he uses his bonus action to transform into the largest creature he can, crushing the enemy. My elven wizard, Nivara, will often sneak up on an unsuspecting group of enemies and then cast Sleep, followed by Burning Hands or Thunder Wave, while our party's rogue will then throw a Molotov at them. Works wonders. I have a character who has a selection of runes etched into his horns, giving him unlimited use of a select group of homebrewed spells. His best move relies on his teleportation rune, which can teleport him up to 50 meters in any direction. My party was up against a massive red dragon, and my character used his rune to teleport higher and higher into the air. With his dual daggers, he began spinning, and like a drill missile, came down and ripped right through the dragon's back. The rest of the party dubbed the attack Drill Impact, and it has been the death blow to a Beholder, a Dracolich, and a Titan. Those are some very high-profile kills. Proud of you. Funnily enough, my rogue is the party healer. When she sees one of her friends down, especially the pally, she's in love with her. She disengages from her fight, sprints towards them, and gives them a healing potion that she keeps in her bag of holding. She's done that several times now, and I don't plan to stop her. My Kenku rogue named Drez has one thing that comes to mind for this actually. I have a stupidly high stealth and a cloak of elven kind. It has become a running gag in the group that whenever stealth is needed, Drez is just missing because he already started to sneak. I also have Misty Step, and while I haven't tried to do it yet in the campaign, I wonder if I could get spotted and then use Misty Step to immediately go back into stealth. Something to keep in my pockets for now. I recently made a Tortle whose signature move is jumping and landing on his opponents. He even has a ring of jumping. Always nice being able to do 20+ damage just by using your movement and then using your attack action to attack twice, since he's a fighter. My character, Aloysius Mana Weaver's favorite technique is to use glass balls filled on one side with tar and the other with alchemical fire as throwing projectiles, thrown most often at the ground just below and just in front of the enemy to ensure maximum splash damage towards the enemy. This usually tanks their health by about 45 to 50 hit points, and it's always awesome to hear our DM describe the ensuing carnage. We've killed cryo-hydras and a juvenile Terrask with these. My party dubbed my character as our microware domestic terrorism gnome, as my character is a gnome artificer. Now, it's not quite her signature move since we're not super far into the campaign, but it just might become it. So my character, a Tabaxi rogue, was fighting a bunch of bandits and ghouls with the rest of the party, High Elf Druid, High Elf Fighter, and an ASMR Paladin. The bandits had a spellcaster with them. On 2 separate occasions, that spellcaster nearly killed me. First time, he hit me with a witch bolt. Second time, he cast command on me and made me prone, allowing another bandit to hit me with a nat 20 scimitar attack. Both of these left me at 1 HP, and I probably wouldn't have survived had it not been for the NPC clerics who were fighting with us. Eventually, I managed to kill that dude, and I decide I want to humiliate him. How do I do it? I shove my cutlass right up his ass. Listen, nobody actually really wants a surprise colonoscopy, so don't make that your signature move. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell to get notified when we post a new video or in the event that we go live. Though, if you want to catch us really live, do so on our Twitch. You can find that in links in the description below, as well as our TikTok. TikTok is more so for one-shot stories that are about 30 to 60 seconds long. Go ahead and head on over there now. It's actually really fun if you just want a little bit of mwah in your life. Also, if you want to submit a story to us for us to read here or live, do so on our subreddit r/MrRipper. Using a help action, come say hi to me as well, Brian Von VA, on all social media platforms. And as always, I try to end on a positive. I just want to say this. A lot of times in the world, you're going to have, well, bad moments. And for all intents and purposes, you might have everything you've ever wanted, and you still might be unhappy. You might be on a constant losing battle. You might have depression, anxiety, or something else more severe. But I don't want you to give up. I've known people who are suffering. I fully am aware of the inconsolable suffrage that some humans go through. And while others might call it a soft thing or, too easy, too prissy, whatever, I know damn well that some days it takes all of your energy to just stand up in the morning and not die, and to eat food, and to bathe yourself, and to brush your teeth. And to those of you still going, I'm proud of you. And to those of you who don't really have a reason, and you just hate everything, and everything in your heart and in your soul, you're just not happy with anything at all in the world, I'm with you. You'll find that happiness, and more so, you already probably have happiness. It's just, with all the chaos and rage and hell and hatred in your life that you have to go through on a daily basis, be it big or small, doesn't really matter. Fuck comparisons. It's all about just making sure that you're okay. It'll get better. Keep going forward and trust the people that love you. All the love, we'll be here. Stay safe, stay happy. We'll see you next time. Brian out.